Hello, everybody. It is Ephemeral Style here to take you through our Week 3 matchup of the Turn 17 Rocks Season 4 Draft League. We're playing June, captain of the Shoddy Starstorms, and their team is featured prominently here on our right side of our screen. They have Great Tusk and Terapagos as their first two picks, two just really powerful, really great utility mons. They have all sorts of sets they can bring. They can be win conditions, they can spin, they have utility rolls, they can break. Two really strong threats to start things off. Screamtail, Metagross, more utility options. Metagross obviously is a bit stronger. Screamtail's a bit bulkier. Zarude is not something I'm super worried about, so I'm not even going to talk about him, to be honest. It's getting traded away after this week, and I think that's kind of deserved. Sorry to be a Zarude hater, but he can't Terra, so he's kind of a bum. And then three Terra captains are Balava, Noivern, and Probopass. Balava as a Terra captain is a pretty good anti-offense measure because how bulky it is. If you can Terra into the right type, you can stop a lot of sweeps, and you have access to moves like Strength Sap and Giga Drain to sort of reset the momentum in your favor. Noivern with Terra Normal Boom Burst is just very hard to switch into, especially since I don't have a Ghost type unless I Terra Vikavolt. And then finally Probopass, catching a Steel type like Arcaludon and then Terraing to avoid losing to Body Press is really good, and it's something to think about. Uraquil is a good hazard bring. It has a pretty good defensive type, as Intimidate as well. And then finally Manaphy is a setup win condition with moves like Calm Mind, or rather you use Take Heart, or even something like Tail Gloves, just get a lot of immediate power. You're also very bulky with your 100-100 stat spread all the way down. You can really sort of craft Manaphy to what it needs to be for the matchup. So our opponent's team is very flexible, similar to ours, and let's see how we tried to prepare for that. Get right into it. Oh, that's the game. There's the team builder. All right, so first up is our Vikavolt. Or Terra Ghost, because Terra Ghost Levitate does a lot of walling on Great Tusk outside of knockoff. We are really fast this week because of a Pokemon I'll show you a bit later, but mainly because Bug Buzz, Energy Ball, and Volt Switch is really hard to switch into with our huge attack stat. We can get off a lot of damage to a lot of Pokemon. And we have Sticky Web as a click if one of the other options doesn't look super great. Next up is our Arcaludon. We are Stamina Leftovers, Body Press, Iron Defense, Flash Cannon, Dragon Tail. This looks pretty familiar to what we've brought before. We have a lot of special bulk and some physical bulk as well, to give us calcs. I believe the physical bulk is for +3 Body Press onto max HP Great Tusk. Otherwise, our special defense and HP is for taking hits from, I think it's Noivern, that's not choice specs, and everything else just sort of went into special attack to hit Screamtail with Flash Cannon, if I'm remembering these EVs correctly. So I think Arcaludon has a pretty good matchup here into a lot of these Pokemon. Obviously, it's be scary about Great Tusk and Probopass, which is why we have things like Dragon Tail, but I think Arcaludon could put in some work for me. Next up is our Greninja. We are bringing a Expert Belt Protean set this week. We're modest because we are always going to get speed crept by Noivern. We don't really care about being slower than Screamtail because I don't necessarily think that Screamtail cares too much about being faster than Neutral Gren. And if we change our type before it comes in, it's not a huge deal. I might be wrong on that. It might come back to bite me, but that's why we are this speed stat. We have Sludge Wave, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, U-Turn as our coverage options, and being slow and greedy lets us be modest. So maybe that'll bite us, maybe it won't. We'll have to see. Next up is Zapdos. We are bringing Heavy Duty Boots, Tailwind, Hurricane Volt, Switch Roost. Tailwind is mainly to enable Pokemon like Vigavolt. If it gets faster than Pokemon like Great Tusk, it can blow it up. Vigavolt on your Tailwind is faster than everything unboosted except for Noivern, which we can answer with Primarina, hopefully, who's coming up later in this builder. It also lets Mamoswine put in a lot of work. It lets Arcaludon put in a lot of work if I can get them in. at the right time. Volt Switch instead of U-turn this week for extra damage with our boosted attack, because his only ground type is Great Tusk, and Great Tusk absolutely hates taking Zapdos Hurricanes and does not do a lot of damage to Zapdos. And we are speed creeping Great Tusk unboosted. That's what our speed is for. And then we have Mamoswine. We are Life Orb, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Ice Shard, Trailblaze to hit Manaphy, although Earthquake also hits it very hard. This is our physical breaker for the week. If we can get it under Tailwind, we can do a lot of damage. Pretty self-explanatory. Thick Fat is for potential flamethrowers from Noivern. And also, again, Oblivious doesn't really do much for us in this matchup. And then finally, we have a very bulky AB Primarina with Alluring Voice, Surf, Energy Ball, Psychic Noise. If we are slower than Manaphy, we can Alluring Voice it when it boosts to confuse it. We can Psychic Noise to prevent it from resting. And then we have Energy Ball to hit it, Surf for other things. Alluring Voice hits Pokemon like Great Tusk and Noivern, obviously. And that is our team. I probably spent a little bit too much time trying to cook up this Vikavolt and make it work. I think there were better brings. I'm not super happy with how this team is. I don't feel great about its matchup, to be entirely honest with you. I also think I forgot to nickname Primarina, so that's embarrassing. That sucks. Yeah, so that's the team for our week 3 matchup. It's a little goofy. It's probably not something I should have brought, but we are 1-1. And I guess I decided to mess around, even though that's nowhere near a safe lead, especially against a scary team that's also 1-1. So let's look at how the game went. Oh, there it is. All right, sorry for the delay. All right, let's get right into it. We are going to lead Vikavolt and immediately Terra in case something like a flamethrower comes out. We also don't want to be weak to rocks coming in later because we don't have any hazard removal. And he's going to set up a light screen on our Volt Switch, which is bad. Look at our team, look at light screen. Then back to our team and then back at the light screen. It has to be Mamoswine really to do any breaking. Honestly, I should have gone into Mamoswine here. I instead go into Zapdos, I guess, to get Tailwind up for Mamoswine, even though this will let Screamtail get a Reflect up potentially. He's going to switch out on our Volt Switch. I should be going probably Mamoswine here. I go back into Vikavolt. Not sure why. And I do take a knockoff for a ton of damage and get Webs up. Why do I get Webs up? I don't know. That's a great question, isn't it? Vikavolt doesn't really threat Metagross for damage. I'm really not sure why I made that play. Our Calyodon's going to come in as the Stone Edge misses. I'm assuming Stone Edge is coming out for Zapdos, although Knock would have been good to remove Boots because you can get Rocks up with a lot of these guys. Switch back into Zapdos expecting an Earthquake, but instead Knockoff comes off. We're going to lose our Heavy Duty Boots. We roost back up on a Stone Edge, presumably, but it says just Knockoff. We're not getting any pairs here, so this could be P-Pads Metagross, although I kind of doubt that. We're going to get into our Calyodon, get our +1 as Light Screen is starting to come off. I'm expecting Screamtail to want to come in, but I body press anyways, like a buffoon. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to have to get a bunch of Flash Cannons off, although it would have stopped me from getting paralyzed here. Manaphy comes in, we get an Iron Defense up. Manaphy is going to take hard, and I get paralyzed on Dragon Tail. Scald comes out and gives us another defense boost, and I'm going to get paralyzed on Dragon Tail. Scald is going to come out, give us another defense boost, and we're finally going to get Dragon Tail off. Honestly, I should have probably just body pressed. Body pressed at that point is +5. We would have been doing a ton of damage, and Manaphy is a huge roadblock to Pokemon like Greninja later on. And Mamoswine as well. Mamoswine, if I can get a Trailblaze up, looks really strong here. So I probably should have just body pressed. Noivern's going to come in. We're just going to switch out into Primarina as he Focus Blasts. Gets out into Manaphy on our Psychic Noise. We're going to prevent any rests from coming out here. And Energy Ball for a huge chunk of damage, and he take hearts. And here, I click too quickly because I'm like, okay, I just Psychic Noised. He can't rest. I did a ton of damage with E-Ball there. I'm looking pretty good. I did not notice that right here, Take Heart removes Heal Block, which means this opposing Manaphy can now rest. And I switch out to our Calyodon on the Scald because I'm like, okay, it's at +1/+1. It's low. It can't rest. And then it rests. So that's great. It's going to reveal that it's Sleep Talk, so it doesn't actually have Energy Ball. So Primarina can wall this. We're going to get this into Scream Tail. Because we're paralyzed, we are slower, and it is going to get another light screen up before it goes down, which is super painful for us. Great Tusk comes in, and we're going to go to Vigavolt as our opponent gets rocks up. Energy Ball, even behind the screen, does 45, which is huge. As our Vigavolt goes down, Zapdos comes in, takes rocks, but we can probably roost here for super free. We instead get greedy and a Hurricane. I assume because Hurricane just kills Great Tusk through the light screen if it's just max HP, because that's just how high Zapdos' Spatak is compared to Great Tusk's Spadaf. We roost after doing a pitiful 6% with Hurricane. Knockoff comes off, still no para. We do get our Tailwind up here, but we are going to have to roost because the Stone Edge lands, and a Hammer Arm comes out, presumably on a switch to our Calyodon on the Stone Edge, lowering this Metagross's speed even further, but we do have to just keep roosting if we want Zapdos to be useful. We finally stalled out Light Screen, but we have lost our own Tailwind. Great Tusk comes in, trying to catch me, presumably on a Volt Switch on this turn, but I'm just going to click a Hurricane again for free. This time it's going to be doing a big 12% now that Light Screen's gone, and just Volt Switch shot into our Calyodon, presumably on the Stun Edge. Yep. I don't think we're faster because we're paired. Oh, we are. Sweet. Body Press comes off. It doesn't kill. Knockoff gets rid of our leftovers, and our Tailwind wears off. So our opponent probably could have stayed in and Hammer on, but we are +2, so we probably would have lived. We miss a Dragon Tail here on the predicted Manaphy switch. Just a little bit of chip would have been nice. It Take Hearts, which cures it of its rest. We get paralyzed on the Dragon Tail. We get Scalded, and then paralyzed on the Dragon Tail. And then Manaphy picks up our Calyodon, which sucks, because at this point we can get one big hit off with Mamoswine and then sack it, or we can go Primarina and try and chunk through it this way, which is what we decided to do. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit because this is going to take a minute. We can prevent rest. He gets burned on Scald, which is going to chunk us even further. He is going to switch out here, but Manaphy is low, which is nice. But the issue is our Primarina is now at 20%, and Noivern's in, and we don't have great. We have rocks up, and our Zapdos is low, and this is Specs Boom Burst. And now that our Noivern check is weakened, we do just lose the game. So that is a pretty sad 5-0 because we got a lot of Pokemon really chipped and couldn't capitalize. What I should have done was gone into Mamoswine and played for an Ice Shard crit earlier. That was sort of my only opportunity. I didn't take it, so that's on me for not playing to an out there. But yeah, things went pretty bad for me in the mid game dealing with that Manaphy. I should have handled things better knowing the threat that Noivern posed, but I'm not super happy with how this team ended up finishing in the builder. I think the results are probably pretty expected given the team. I definitely played really bad at the start of the game, and the mid game, and the late game. So I just played bad throughout, and my opponent played well. He played pretty safe. He didn't give me a lot of opportunities to get back into the game, so props to him for that. Yeah, I mean, something's probably got to change here. I need to play better, but I think a big part of that is building teams I'm more comfortable with. And then also something to look at here is in terms of our power budget, Greninja is our most expensive Pokemon. And so far this season, Greninja has done nothing. Literally nothing. It's come in and died, right? It's like gotten like 40% off on an Iron Bundle, I think that's been it. And a lot of that is user error, to be sure. And that means that I need to be less afraid to use my good Pokemon to do what they're good at. I need to be using Greninja more often. I need to be using Mamoswine more often when I have the opportunities. If I try and it's an adage you've heard before. If you try and save every Pokemon, you're going to lose everyone in the process. I need to be willing to give up some of my guys in the mid game to break, and not play this grindy game that I was not prepared for, that I'm going to end up losing when my pieces go down. And my other high value mon, Slowking, isn't here. So it's like my two highest value point Pokemon aren't doing anything in this game, which I think is a big contributing reason as to why we lost, in addition to our poor play. So yeah, pretty disappointed with myself this one. I know it was a tough matchup, but I think it was a fun matchup that definitely had a lot of play on my side that I didn't bring to the table. So apologies to my opponent if he was disappointed with how the game went. I assume he's not, because he 5-0'd me. But if he was looking for a more fun game, perhaps, than him just smacking me around for 46 turns. So we're going to be looking at how we build and play going forward, and hopefully figuring out a style that works better for us, and also maybe looking at some trades, either with other players or with the board, to try and get something working here, because 1 and 2 is not a great start. So we're gonna have to figure out the problems ourselves. So shout out to our haters. You guys won again. Hopefully this is the last week that happens for a while, because we're gonna have to lock in, bunker down, bunker in, excuse me, and figure out what's wrong and what to do better. So hopefully you'll see me next week in a happier mood. Probably will, because I'm pretty disappointed with how I've been performing this season. So I'm going to spend a lot of time this week, hopefully, figuring my shit out. So I will see you then. Look forward to it. Also, check out in the description, Tetrafolium's channel will be linked. His game is there. The weekly review that him and I do will be down on that channel as well. So if you want to see the rest of the games this season, I highly recommend going to check that out. And while you're down there, say something nice in the comments, or don't. It's a free world. So that's all. Have a great day. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.